Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Surrey School District and Stigma-Free Society, Surrey School's Mental Health 40 and Wellness broadcast. I am Daniel Toe. I'm a district principal in the Surrey School District, also with our partner, the Stigma-Free Society, co-broadcasting on their website on the shared traditional territories of the Kwantlen, Katzie, Coast Salish, and Semiahmoo First Nations. We're very glad to be on these unceded territories and to broadcast our Prodit once a month from these territories. Here I have Teresa Voorsluys. Did I pronounce that
You
correctly?
did. You
I
got
did
it.
awesome. I pronounced that correctly. And whether you're watching now or watching later, this is going to be a really great presentation for teachers, especially career teachers. And if you're not watching now, I'll forward it to your district principal so he can forward it to you, because we're talking about the Kwantlen University Head Start program. And I'll be pulling up the site a bit later. But Teresa works with them. I'm going to ask her just to start to talk a little bit about herself and her position at the Kwantlen Polytechnic University, and then we'll just get on to it from there. But thank you so much for watching. Whether you're watching now or watching later, you can leave questions in the comments, and I will answer them. Whether you leave them now or later, we can answer them as we see them come on. So, Teresa, go for it. Please tell us a bit about yourself and your work at Kwantlen.
Okay. And thanks for having me, Daniel. It's a great
No
opportunity
problem.
to have a chat. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Teresa, and I am at KPU. I've been there for 20 years working in the area of student success and had the opportunity to work with thousands of students and families and staff and faculty that are really passionate about what they do. And right now I work with central advising. I'm the manager of academic advising, and my team specializes in new first year and second year students. So we help a lot of students to acclimatize to post secondary. It's really like coming to a new culture in a way, and there are lots of questions that students need assistance with. So that's our specialty, and I work with a great team of people who really like to help and answer those questions. Uh, I have a background in psychology. I'm a coach and a career development practitioner and a student in doing my MA
Nice.
and mom of
By
two.
coach, do you mean like a life coach or a sports coach or?
Yeah, I did my executive coaching certification, so I like
Wow,
to
cool.
career coach and life coach because really they're all linked, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that
Mhm.
fits in perfect with your job with Head Start. So let's
Yeah.
talk a little bit about the Head Start program, which is why we're here, and what it is. Because I actually hadn't heard of it. Like I do some work in post secondary, and a lot of our students go off to places like Kwantlen, especially in Surrey and Richmond, where Kwantlen is. And so, but I actually hadn't heard about the Head Start program until you contacted me. And so I maybe just tell us a bit about it. I'll pull it up on the screen. And if you want me to click on different parts of the site, I'm not sure if you can see what I'm pulling up, but I will
There
click to
we go.
whatever part of the site you like, and you can talk about a little bit about the Head Start program.
Yeah, sure. Well, let me give you a little bit of an overview. So, as I was mentioning, my team specializes in supporting new students, and a pretty common transition issue is that students are going to need a little bit of support in navigating the first few steps. So the Head Start program is for students who might feel they need a little bit of extra support in making that transition. And that could be for any kind of reason.
Okay.
Perhaps they're dealing with mental health issues or feeling highly anxious about that shift, and they want somebody to partner with them and talk through all of the different steps and what might be the best thing for them to try first.
Mm-hmm.
Or it could be because they have supports already in place in high school and they want to smoothly transition those into post secondary. And a strong start is really important. So, what we normally do is meet with students starting in May or June and try and talk about what they're interested in, what they want to explore, what they're good at, and then set them up for registration in the best way possible. And then there's a bit of a bridging program that happens over the summer where you kind of start to build those skills that you might need to walk in September and feel confident about what you're doing and excited too.
Okay, so if I click on future student, does that sort of talk about, like what, like what's the, like, do they, can they just drop in virtual, but like what are all these things that, like, who qualifies for the Head Start program? Do you know what I mean? Like you said, if they have supports in school, they can come, or if they have mental health issues, they might be able to come. Can, like, do you recommend, maybe you would, but does the university recommend that every student who's starting at KPU come to the Head Start? Is it a good place to start off a post-secondary career at Kwantlen University?
So just to look at the website that we're looking at right now. So that's for all future students.
Okay.
And anybody that has questions about applying to KPU can connect with us in those ways.
Okay.
So that would be a first step, is to apply. And then once you have a student number, you can apply then to the Head Start program.
Okay.
I wouldn't say it is necessarily for everybody. Not everybody needs that level of support, or they are willing to meet with us as regularly as we like to meet and do the bridging program. Some people navigate just fine and have supports at home, parents that went to university that can guide them through, older sisters and brothers. But then some of us don't. And for those students, that they're a good fit for this program.
Okay. Okay, so you know, you walk me through student experience. I have these questions. As people know, I have these questions, but I tend to deviate from the questions a little bit. But so you had mentioned, I think for us as a district who focuses on inclusion and make sure that all of our students get an opportunity at some sort of post-secondary. Because as we know, students going to post-secondary have a greater chance at like life success than students who just graduate and go to work. Right, any type, even 2-3 weeks, a diploma program or a certificate program, it gives people a greater chance of success. So, if we're looking at a student who has, for example, special accommodations in the high school, like how do you help them with that at the university? Like, do you help fund it? Do you help find it? Like, what? Say if a student needs a scribe at university, how would them coming to Head Start help that situation?
Yeah, so Head Start is run by academic advisors. So advisors, normally their specialty is programs, helping students choose programs. And in those programs, what are the courses and what is the sequence and what's the right amount of courses for you to take? So that's our specialty. But we also specialize in connecting you to the resources you need. So we have an accessibility department. And so as part of Head Start, we would make sure that you are connected to them, and that before your classes start, you have those conversations and set things up. We have all the paperwork that's necessary so that when it comes to having a scribe or having some extra time around exams or some supportive software, that is in place for you to start. So that's our access department, but we will facilitate that connection for you. And all of the other things that you can take advantage of that might help with that smooth transition.
Okay. So does this program, because again, not really knowing what it was, you know, other than what I read, we have a lot of students who otherwise would not qualify for university other than they graduate high school, right? But they want to get into some, like Kwantlen has great trades type programs, has great work experience level programs, really reaches down to the high schools. You folks at Kwantlen really reach down to the high schools to try and be inclusive. Kwantlen's, I think, a very inclusive post-secondary institution.
Right.
When the students have those, like, do you folks have like a special needs supporting department that could help kids, for example, who may have autism, but who are capable of post-secondary, do well in school? What does that look like if I'm a child with autism or if I'm a child with learning disabilities? Like, how does Kind of help me other than the advising? Like, if I need something in a classroom, how do I go about getting that, or how would you help me get that support?
That's a good question. So in post-secondary, as you probably have experienced, we have a lot of specialists. So at Head Start, I mean, our specialty isn't so much the accommodation piece. We will connect you to the department that ensures that you have those things in place. So when you need something, you have a go-to person. Like, I don't know how to get this. Can you help me find the person that can? That's what we can help you to do. And you do, like, one of the differences between high school and post-secondary, I think, is that whereas in high school, sometimes a lot of the resources go to you, In post-secondary, you have to take some initiative and go to them. So, and some students never do because they don't know, or they haven't sort of made that transition, or, seen that expectation. So yeah, setting it up in advance really helps. And in terms of the details of what you need, that would probably be your access advisor who will help you with that. In partnership with the instructor that you might be working with. And we would try to make sure that you're in classes that are something that you're excited about, that suits goals, and that you are not overwhelmed by. And that's how we can best support the full diversity of people out there.
So what supports do you folks have access to? So for example, like if I mentioned the scribe, if a student needs a scribe, do you hire this person? Does the student pay for this? What does the access look like? If you have a child with autism that needs extra time, do you folks tell the professor this is happening, or do they do that? Like, how are the supports managed for the students who require specialized supports? And is that managed through the Head Start program?
That's a great question. It's not managed by the Head Start program. It's managed by our access department.
Okay.
And they are the specialists. I wouldn't want to give you the wrong information, so I don't know that I can detail exactly how that works. I know that they have like a huge range of supports that are available.
Okay.
And they will set those things up for the student, and in some ways work with the faculty to ensure, like, hey, there's a student in your class that needs these services, and this is what's going to happen. And or if you need to take exams in a particular kind of a space, make sure that that's available. They hire the scribes. They hire people to support you in whatever way to make sure that you can be a success.
Okay, so it's more of you folks are more of a bridging to other services.
That's exactly right.
Like a doorway to access, basically.
Like a concierge.
Concierge. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Now, I know university. There's a certain sort of air about going to post-secondary, going to a university. You ever find families hesitant to reach out, saying they don't, like, they're afraid that, okay, so say they're afraid, like I've heard this been said before, so it sounds ridiculous, but I've heard it said. So if my student gets Head Start support or access support or any sort of support, and this student doesn't, well, my kid is going to get, or my student or this person with this have support is going to have a lesser opportunity than ones who don't have support, right? Like, people will see that. Is there and this is, we're co-broadcasting is Stigma-Free, so I might as well ask a stigma question. Is there a stigma? Have you found that people trying to access services, whether it's with Head Start or through the services you access, you say, oh, you should see counseling once a week. Maybe this is a good thing. And they're like, oh, no, I don't want to do that. Or you should go and seek out the access department. Oh, no, I don't have a learning disability. I'm good. Right? They don't want to, they're embarrassed coming to Head Start, right? Or they come to you and then they're embarrassed to access the services you're suggesting to them.
Absolutely. I mean, unfortunately, that's the truth, right? There is a stigma out there and people are hesitant to engage in them. We really try to educate people about, the breadth of people that need these services, even temporarily, when something happens with your health and you might need to make a change. The services are confidential, so people don't need to know that you're using particular services. They don't go on official records. So if you decide to apply to Harvard Medical School, nobody's going to know that you accessed counseling or you needed a scribe to do it. And in fact, most schools these days are using very inclusive application practices where you can tell your story and say, there's a lot of extra challenges that I dealt with, and that makes me a fantastic candidate for this. And that's great to see. I'd like to think that, during the pandemic, the stigma, because there was just so much more going on mental health wise, I would like to think that it lessened a little bit and more people were willing to admit that they were struggling and reach out to services. And so I'm hoping that's always changing. And when people are okay with being honest about what they need, then we can better help them.
Mhm.
but it is still a
Have
thing.
you noticed a spike, like post-pandemic, a spike in people coming to talk to you about services? Like, like you were around before pandemic, I think,
Yeah.
right? And now you're here post, well, not post-pandemic, but post whatever it was before to what it is now, right?
Yeah.
Do you find a bump in services? Like, do you find a bump in people lining up to and queuing up to see you and
Yes,
your advisor?
absolutely. And I wonder if because in part two, like we were largely an in-person service, so you had to come to campus and to come and talk
Mhm.
to us. But now we've
Mhm.
all transitioned and made ourselves available in other ways. So it's a
Right.
little bit easier. So that may be part of it too. But I mean, everybody struggled a little bit more during the pandemic and they did
Yeah.
reach out. And yes, we did see an increase in services.
Okay. Now
Mhm.
I noticed on your site that it's. Oh, let me go back to the site. That it's for first year students, right? When I scroll down, do you
Yes.
have students that you serve that are not first year students? Like, if they need Head Start to start,
Yeah.
is it like, do they not get it in second year or?
It's a program to start students out really well. And
Mhm.
all students have access to academic advising at KBU,
Okay.
and we can take students. We specialize in first and second year, and then after
Okay.
that, if you're going to continue in a degree, we would pass you to a degree advisor who would
Okay.
is a specialist in that area.
Okay.
So, I mean, the implication is not that services drop, but
Yeah.
that you have smoothly transitioned into your first year, and you can continue to see your advisor um, uh, as much as you as need to or want to,
Okay.
and probably are a little bit more familiar now with where everything is and what you need to do.
Okay. Well, I had another question that I hadn't shown you, but hopefully you can. This isn't is too much of a loop, and I think it's a question that students and parents would like to hear, whether they're watching this now or later.
Yeah.
Why Kwantlen University? Like, it's Surrey, with Surrey School District, you're right in there, but a lot of folks, like, you're a student, and I'm not gonna, like, you probably know this as well. Most students think UBC SFU, right? Maybe even in that order, and they
Mhm.
think then UVic, and then they think of Kwantlen, and they think of other places like, oh, if I don't get into here, I'm gonna
Mhm.
go here. But I think more and more so people are looking to Kwantlen, VIU, Capilano
Mhm.
as real post secondary, not real, but like as their first tier post
Choice.
secondary option. Can you
Yeah.
tell me why there's been that shift and whether you're seeing more and more of that? Because I'm hearing much less that people are like, oh, if I don't get here, I'll go to Kwantlen. I'm hearing people say, I'm
Mhm.
going to Kwantlen.
Oh, I'm really happy to hear that.
Yeah,
I
I'm hearing
maybe
that.
don't get to hear that side of things.
Okay.
Why I'm happy to hear that is I think that we are a great place to
Mm,
start. I mean, we have such a range of programming, like as you've mentioned, our trades programs, our vocational programs, and
hmm.
everywhere from certificate degree to degree, um, and our small class sizes. I
Yeah.
think that's a really big deal. 35 students max. Your teacher's going
Wow.
to know who you are.
Hmm.
Um, and that is a very different feeling than walking into a huge lecture hall. And a really nice way for people to start and finish, actually.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, I worked in career services for a good amount of time at KPU.
Okay.
And I mean, most students are coming to post secondary because they're looking to find work. And we do have a really good reputation in the community for uh, educating students and preparing them
Yeah.
for the workforce
Yeah.
and things that are relevant, practical skills that employers want to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, for your head start, do you advertise this program in secondary schools and let
Mhm.
everyone know about it? Is this and when they ask, can anybody sign up? You had mentioned that if you already have good supports, you don't need it. But can anybody just put their name in and then you sort of take on everybody, or is it sort of you take a look at those who need it and select them, or does everyone who applies gets a response from you?
Yeah, that's a great question. We don't cater to a particular group of students, so it
Okay.
is open to whoever thinks they might need
I
extra
know there's
support.
only two of you here, so on the site there's only two of you.
No,
So
there's more.
oh,
There's more.
there's more. That's good. There's more. Just
Yeah.
less on the site. Okay, there's more.
But
Awesome.
it is a limited program, so we do have limited seats.
Yeah.
So far, we have found once we have an initial meeting with students and let them know a little bit more, like this is what it is.
Mm,
Does this sound like a good fit to you? And generally speaking, yeah, we're finding the right students once they hear what it is. They either realize, you know what, actually, I think I'm okay, or they sign on because it's something they know they need and want. So yeah, at this point in time, it is open just with limited seats.
Okay. And my last question to you, although unless I have a follow-up question, I've already added, I think, 3 other questions. But, is this something that other post-secondaries have, or is this a unique Kwantlen thing? And like, why do you even have this? Like, basically, is my question is why did you folks at Kwantlen feel that this was a necessity for first-year students coming in? And do other places have something similar, or did you guys say, oh, we got to do this, and other people are copying you?
I looked around actually to see if there was anything similar. I didn't find anything. I mean, all post-secondaries have supports in place and accommodation services and all of that sort of stuff. So it exists. What this really is your go-to person that kind of is your partner in coming into the institution. And I think what makes it unique is that, as I was saying, we don't particularly attach it to a group of students. You self-select into the program about whether you think this is a fit for you, and we see the match. And it's something that's still new. And the advisor that created it, I think he was really inspired by. He's very passionate about helping students with exceptionalities. And he just wanted to make sure that we don't lose people in the onboarding process and getting used to post-secondary process. And so that's where his heart was at.
Well, that's what we preach all the time in K-12, right? And to build that solid relationship with the students so that they can thrive. If they have someone they feel that they can go to, there's a much greater chance of success at feeling like you belong to the university or belong to the skill. And then that will help you grow academically and thrive academically. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's what I feel the Head Start is. It's like a place for first years to go and say, hey, I can like belong to something. I can find my person. Even if I have nobody here, I can find my person and just get supports if I need it. And them even knowing it's there can help a student make it through the first year, because we know a lot of students don't make it through first year. All right. And do you see yourselves as that, like just almost like the concierge at a hotel, the first person you see, well, the second person you see after you check in, just to help you guide yourself through the city. Likewise, do you see yourselves as that at Kwantlen? I think that's what I'm hearing.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Your go-to and your partner that can, I mean, you're in charge, you're driving the ship. The student is, empowered to make their decisions, but everybody needs a little help and a little insider information, and that's what we can provide.
Okay. Well, my last question, I said it'd be about 30 minutes, so we're right on the mark. It's awesome. Tell me your coolest story of students you have served in the recent past. 1 or 2 the coolest stories, like where you see that there's been a difference made. And I didn't type this for you. You didn't know it was coming, so you definitely think about it for a little bit. The coolest story of people you've interacted with, or person you've interacted with.
Okay, so I mean, just recently, students have come through a lot of struggles through the pandemic, and they have to drop out for various reasons. I can't think of a very specific one, but the amount of students that sort of came back during that period, many years later, a couple years later, maybe they didn't do so well in their first try through university, or maybe, spending some time away, they really realized, oh, actually, it's not this that I'm interested in. I want to go this way. So helping them come back, and now they're back with families, or they have a job, and trying to find out a way for them to graduate with what they need. So that I'm thinking of a couple faces, and then seeing them like in person at convocation across the stage, and their families are all there, and there's flowers, and they're wearing fantastic shoes. And it's just so rewarding. And because we get those one-to-one relationships, it's really meaningful.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good point to end our conversation on, is that it is that building of the meaningful relationships. And it's good to, like, it's obvious that, even though you see the student first or second year, you're still there for them enough to see their fabulous shoes at graduation, right? And so, so I think that's the benefit, I think, sometimes of a mid-sized university, is that, and sometimes for students who need that support, a large, and I went to UBC. I'm not saying anything wrong with it. It was awesome. I actually went to SFU too. Awesome, right? But I think sometimes a place where students can feel that kinship with another person that can guide them through their journey. That is very, very enticing for a lot of students who, especially coming out of the pandemic, people's mental health and stress level is high still, even now. There's
Yeah.
still constant worry that I see a lot of news articles like, oh, what happens during the next pandemic? What will we do when the world stops again? I'm like, oh,
Oh,
that happened
no, no,
again. No, 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 right? But that's a constant fear that we talk about on many of the YouTube broadcasts I've done. And when you look at, if students come to university, there's already that stress of, oh, I got to graduate, got to finish, right? Sometimes in 4 years, if their family needs them to finish or it's expensive, how do I make money to pay for this, right? Having someone like you there to guide them on the journey and to see them through, not just the first, second year, but it feels like sometimes you see them graduate. I think that must be very a welcome relief and a sense of calm for a lot of students.
So, absolutely, and accomplishment and empowerment when you face challenges and you overcome them. And it might not be in the time that you expect, but there's still ways to get there.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Is there anything I've missed on your site or anything about KPU? Obviously, you think it's an awesome university, or else you wouldn't work there. But is there anything else that you want to add before we finish today?
Nothing jumps to mind. No, okay. I just really appreciate the chance to chat, Daniel, and to meet you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, well, folks, if you are interested in the Kwantlen Head Start program, you can go to their site. I'm going to show it one more time. Where I click on this wrong button here. Show it one more time. You can go just to KPU. I think the link is, let me go to the link, kpu.ca/Head Start, and you can learn all about the Head Start program. I will forward this to all the career ed folks that we have in the district so that they can show this video to their students. They can learn a little bit more about the program. And it is very much like the concierge of a hotel, someone to guide you through whether you have special needs or mental health supports that you need, or you need access to more access. The Head Start program, and Teresa and her, I guess it's more than one person. The other people in her office,
fabulous team.
Fabulous team can definitely help you along your way. And Kwantlen, for those of you who graduate from our Surrey schools and don't want to go too far, but want a university experience, Kwantlen is definitely right there for you to go to with the great supports of the Head Start program. So Teresa, thank you very much. Don't disappear when I end the broadcast so I can say goodbye to you. But thank you all for watching, whether you're watching now or watching later. I appreciate you having spent time with us in the Surrey School District. And we hope we're going to broadcast again in a month where we will be interviewing Miles Anthony, who is going to be our headline speaker at our student mental health and wellness event in 2 days. But I'll be interviewing him. He's a music producer. He is a film producer. And he was also my former student. So if you don't get to see Miles in 2 days, you can definitely see him on YouTube in a month. Thank you all for watching and have a great day.
Bye.